Hello, everybody. Oh, shit, I'm still listening. Patrick, I need to mute that. Good morning. Good morning. 7 a.m. Eastern. Noon GMT. 9 o'clock, or is it 10 o'clock Australia? I always get that confused. I'll get it right one day. How is everybody this morning? Yeah, and talking to, being on Patrick's live stream, he was talking about 9/11. And that's definite. It's a definite effect for sure. For me, anyways. All buildings didn't fall. It's just the 3. I think I talked about this on previous broadcasts, but 1, 2, and 7, which 7 was total BS. I mean, they were all total BS, but. If anybody wants to come on, I did invite one person, but send me an email at Brianna Plains Gmail. Hi, Preliminimal. Hi, QP. Oh, thank you, Preliminimal. Hi, JW. Hi, Darkden. Hi, Andrew. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll email you. Let's see. Oh, goodness, this is... It's been so great, like, catching up with everybody's live streams that I want to tell you guys, there is absolutely zero reason for me to be so tired. I mean, I slept all day yesterday, except for when I went on. Oh, shoot. I shouldn't have put that in the chat. I got to delete that. I meant to put that in an email. Hang on. I'm having difficulties today. Why didn't that work? Oh, for crying out loud. Hang on, Preliminimal. Having trouble for some reason. Was it Pat's classes? Is that what you said? Okay, here. That's not it. That's not it. I had your... Okay. All right, I sent you a link. The title of my live stream that I put, my mom used to say that when I was a little girl because they couldn't keep any secrets from me. You know, of course, I learned to spell really early because they would have to, you know, they'd spell ice cream and stuff like that when I was a little girl. But I'm kind of talking quiet because people are sleeping in the house. So if I seem like I'm whispering, that's why. Oh, let me see if... Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Preliminimal. Great to hear you. Let me mute this though. So I don't know why it went on.
Hi.
It was good.
Hi, Preliminimal. Great to hear you. Let me mute this though. So
How come this is going double? I don't know.
Testing. I had to turn off the video.
Oh, maybe that's why, because I'm hearing yours. Okay. Yeah, you got to turn the sound down when you come on, because otherwise it'll echo. So tell us your story.
Well, in February 2016, I was in the hospital, and I woke up somewhere in mid-February that year, and I had this weird pain, and I didn't call the hospital. I just got up and slowly dragged myself to the hospital. And while I was there, I had brought my laptop with me, and I was already studying all different things, and always interested in phenomena and UFOs and mainly spiritual, just theories and anything about, well, especially NDE. I was always interested in near-death experiences since high school. But while I was in the hospital, something very weird happened. While I was online, I was looking up. I don't know how I came across it. I don't remember exactly the first thing I saw, but the one that really shocked me was the geographic changes. When I saw China was the one that really stood out at first, back then, before I got out of the hospital.
Was that because of Mongolia, or?
Yes, Mongolia freaked me out so bad, because that whole part was always China. And I mean, we had classes, back even in middle school, about just looking at the map. It was always on the wall, so that kind of left an impression in my memory of where everything was. And that Genghis Khan, what was it, 200 years ago, when he was defeated, there was no Mongolia. That was all China. I mean, there was still Mongolian people, but they didn't have a separate country in the old Earth. So
exactly.
then
That's my memory as well.
Oh my God, when I saw Mongolia, I was like, what's going on? And then that kind of led to all these other things. And seeing Australia and Indonesia and Japan was way more to the east and where I was. And suddenly it was close up right next to China. I was like, wait, what is going on? I just non-stop barrage of things overwhelming.
Yeah, I've said this before, but it seems to me like for Australia, that New Zealand is in the right spot, but Australia is the one that moved up. I don't know about for your memory, but yeah, I mean, Australia, there's no way it was that close,
No, yeah, Australia was way more east and a little bit more south, and it didn't have that weird opening on top as pronounced. I mean, it was, but it wasn't so. It was like, now it's like a square, like indentation, and before it was a little bit more rounded. But New Zealand, this one, a lot of people don't see, but for me, it's like where I was, New Zealand split, and the shape was different, and it wasn't to the east. It was actually in the mid-north, and because I remember looking at it back in the 90s, I remember watching episodes of Hercules and Xena which were filmed in New Zealand, a 90s series. And then it was above Australia, where Papua New Guinea is, excuse me. and so so many other changes that others affected aren't seeing. So for a while I was theorizing that the parallel universe is detanglement, and I must have been in a some lesser known version.
Well, a lot of people say that it was northwest instead of northeast for them. So, well, not a lot of people, but you do hear a few people say that.
Yeah. So now I don't disagree with anyone. I just feel like, well, everyone's somehow from a different version, but now I'm starting to think it's none of that. Now I'm thinking it is the same Earth. Although it isn't in the same part of the galaxy, but that it like either moved through a black hole or something that only God, Creator, knows. How everyone is seeing different perceptions. That might have something spiritual. I think, I've always felt like whatever is going on, it's all spiritual in the solution, regardless of the problem. So,
yeah, I agree with you on that. And I've been thinking, are we moving? Well, exactly what you just said. Is it something that is parallel realities, or is it just that we don't know what our reality is, and so we each see a different reality?
Yeah, because maybe we always had multiple perceptions back in Sagittarius, and little to our awareness did we know that everyone was seeing something slightly different.
Yeah, because I like Moneybags videos but also I like it just because I don't agree with everything, and that makes me more accepting of like when people say, because at first when you first get into it, you think there was just two things, the Sagittarius and then the Orion arm or whatever it is, and then once you get into it, you realize no. I mean, either there's just one, like what you were saying, or there's many different versions of reality. And I liked his video last night. I think he put one up about 1 a.m. my time or whatever. Because California has changed for sure. I mean, it was never that bent for me.
Oh yeah, no, that's a big one for me. And this is one that others don't. I haven't found anyone else that agrees so far. But where I was, Los Angeles was right in the middle of the coast of California. The coast was smooth. It wasn't so jagged.
Yeah, it was smooth for me, but LA was further south for me than you, it sounds like.
Okay, yeah. Where I was, it was like right in the middle, and San Francisco above that. And so both of those are now like strangely way south, and it was never that south for me. That it's really big one to me.
Well, a huge one for me is Dallas. I don't know if you saw my video on that, but Dallas was never right there. It was always like just slightly north of Central.
Yeah, I agree on that one. Yeah. And Sweden, Sweden is a huge one. It was, for me, where I was, Sweden was never right next to Norway. And I've talked to people that live in Sweden, and who are affected. Stasha Eriksson has a book out about the Mandela Effect, and for her, Sweden was always there. So something very ambiguous is going on. I'm gonna be right back. I'll talk to you in a sec. Okay.
Okay. Just going into Sweden for a minute. I homeschooled my kids for 4 years, and it was there for me at that time anyway, which would have been around 2004 through 2008, something like that. Because I remember, I would like do little things to help them memorize where like different countries were and stuff. And the acronym, or whatever you want to call it, I'm probably saying that wrong. I don't know. I'm tired this morning because I have no idea why I'm so tired. But anyways, it was, I had to memorize it as no sweet food, or Norway, Sweden, Finland. So like in the order of what the countries were. And so that's how I got them to remember where the countries were. So that's odd. So what was your reality as far as Sweden then? Oh, crap. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? It looks like I'm on, but oh, okay, good. For me, Mercury was closest. Did you have Mars, Andrew? No school Friday. That was a good one. So, let's see. Let me shout out to some people. Sharkay. Andrew, Charles, affected indeed. Thank you for being here this morning. And then he said, I'm just scrolling up, QP, of course. It seems like you're always on the streams, which is so nice to see a familiar face all the time. So Preliminimal, it sounds like you're back.
Hi, yeah, thanks. I was watching, wow, I was watching Brandon in Tennessee earlier, and some of his earlier ones, it sounded like he was just trying to focus, and he wasn't all, but wow, what a difference, just his last few videos. Like, he's just way more articulate and just seems more in tune or something. And what he was saying, if you check out his channel.
Shoot, I didn't hear that.
Okay, I'll re-say what I was going to say about Brandon in Tennessee. I was just watching a couple of his videos, his recent ones, and I just noticed a huge difference. Like, he just suddenly seems like way more articulate and focused, and is pointing out a lot of things that I could resonate with.
I'll have to check that out. I had him on my channel the other day. And
you know who I mean, right? Brandon?
Yes. Brandon Hall's-Air. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he has a cold, and but what he was saying in like his recent live one, and he was just going over a lot of things, but I just like his honesty, and he seemed in like a week ago, like the earlier ones he was doing, he didn't seem the same. It's like he suddenly became a different person, and suddenly he was just more aware. Maybe he was really down or something, and that happens to me, so I can relate to that. I mean, sometimes I'm just really depressed, and I've struggled with depression since the 80s, and I'm feeling okay now. I'm just I have a lot of I'm real self-critical, and I have OCD, but I've been seeing a counselor and just trying to overcome all that self-defeating doubt that's been sorry, I got distracted, but mainly.
No, that's okay. I was just gonna go along with that and say that I have bipolar, and I get depressed, but I don't necessarily feel bad about myself. I just feel bad about life in general, and the fact that I just want a nice, boring life where I can have a garden and cook a couple meals and just like my life isn't ever boring, you know?
For me, I'm an eccentric artist, so to speak, and I'm just chasing what's impractical most of the time, and you know, wanting to live in New York and have art. Well, that's how I was anyway, and I'm more of like a Andy Warhol, Salvador Dali kind of person.
That's cool.
I don't like rationalizing. I mean, I like to just speak in poetry. You know, I don't like to think rationally. I'm an escapist, a dreamer. You know, I've felt like if you see my art, it explains it better. But it's hard for me to talk like this about reality because I was always trying to escape reality in absurdism, and but not insanely, just like humorous, this, you know, humorous absurdism, something that was lost sometime in the 80s.
I think we're all a bit of dreamers, and we don't.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us don't want to live in reality that I've seen from people who are affected, and it's kind of funny because it's our reality that's changed, you know.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, that's kind of I won't go on too much unless there's something else to talk about. But
Oh no, it's good.
I really like your show because I like and Brandon and anyone that's really honest, or maybe it's just because I relate to those who are suffering and kind of, you know, and just like, I mean, a lot of people come on like they just know it all, and for me, it's like, whoa, it's hard to talk to them. But and not that you don't. I'm just saying. I guess it's an emotional frequency. I like your.
Oh, thank you.
What I don't know what it is. I'm not going to define it, and that's what the thing about surrealism is. We don't like to define. We want to just want to live more in a sort of dream state, and I relate to that a lot. And that I'm not saying you are that way, but
Now, are you on Facebook at all where people can look at your
yeah.
art, or?
Oh yeah, I have like many of my drawings and paintings, and I do experimental music and things, but
Well, my name on Facebook is Rain with an E on the end, Rain Rains. And
okay.
so, you know, friend me or whatever. And then also I wanted to,
Great.
have you ever seen any of Dominic Frost's art? His and QP is a very good artist as well.
No, I want to check out. Is it Rain?
It's Rain with an E on the end, Raine, and then Rains, Raines.
All right.
But
Okay, I'll check it
yeah,
out.
but check out. I want to definitely check out your art, and then also check out QP and Dominic. Dominic's paintings are really cool, and then
I do a lot of short stories too. I do like fictional kind of dream stories, and I do 2D animation. And not I don't like to I feel like I'm saying too much, so
no,
I like to,
not at
you know
all.
what I mean though? You like the work to speak for itself, and you don't want to smother it with all your explanation. You know, let the art speak rather
Yeah.
than, you know,
Well,
that's why I avoid interview. Like I don't do interviews, or I don't like art critics or people analyzing it and tearing it to shreds, because the work should speak for itself.
so do you live in New York right now?
No, I'm in Milwaukee. Well, I'm from Milwaukee, and I kind of station. Well, I live in both Madison and Milwaukee. Because I know, like everyone I know is in Milwaukee, but then I live in Madison too because of families here, so I kind of go back and forth.
Now, have you seen any changes to Wisconsin?
No, for me, and that's the same with what Stasha was saying. You know, she's seen no changes in Sweden, but she's always been, well, not always, but she's been there most of her life. And
Now, if I start seeing changes to Colorado, I'm going to freak out because, you know, it's
yeah,
a rectangle. I mean, that's pretty hard to screw up.
Oh yeah. But wait, Nevada. I remember. Do you agree with this or not? Las Vegas being more north, and now it's way down. And to me, and the same with Los Angeles. Los Angeles is way up. San Francisco was way up further.
I'm not really sure about Las Vegas, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
but LA was pretty much where it is, but it wasn't. It's got like California has this weird bend to it now, which it always had a bend, but not that pronounced.
Yeah, it wasn't like that, and it's got these weird indentations now. Same with Virginia. I as a child I lived by Norfolk, Virginia, and Virginia Beach, and that whole area is now way down in the south corner, and it looks so bizarre to me because that was always way up by DC.
Well, and I remember when I saw a refrigerator magnet of Texas, and I'm like, that is weird. Who made that like that? But that was years ago. So I guess apparently it's been changed for a long time for me, and I just didn't notice, which that's so upsetting, because it's like I should have seen all this stuff a long time ago.
Yeah, and Hudson Bay in Canada looks
that's
bizarre.
Huge now.
Wow. I'm glad you agree, because I haven't heard more people talk about it, because Hudson Bay just looks bizarre now.
And it's huge.
Yeah. It's like expanded and this one is hard to talk about because I haven't heard anyone else mention it, but Quebec for me moved way over to the east. I remember Quebec being above, because we went there in 1974. I went to Quebec City, and it was a straight travel north. We went there from Milwaukee, and now it's way over on the, and that one I just don't know what to think about, so I'm not going to talk more about that.
Well, like we've said, people
That's
just
a weird one.
have different stuff. Now, Quebec's pretty much always been east for me like that, but there's other stuff too, like that Alaska, that little jutty out thing. And I don't know. I'm going to start looking at the shapes of the states a little bit more, trying to pay more attention to it.
I noticed someone just posted about the shape of the liver and the stomach now. It's now like overlapping each other, and it's sort of like going horizontal, and that's a new one for me. Like, and the liver I think changed maybe 3 times since I first awoke. But now it's like, wow, it's just like the two are kind of interconnect. They're like the stomach shape is different and the liver is different again.
I'll have to look that up. I don't pay attention as much as a lot of people to the body changes, only because I think they are very, very important. However, I always hated biology, and I hated memorizing for biology tests and stuff like that. And I'm more of a math person, and so like I'd rather do a triple integral than like memorize body parts.
Okay. I'm sensitive to like, to me, body is just gross, and I don't like to look at all that. But I just couldn't help noticing the change, and I was like, oh man, that's
well. And I can tell the liver change too, unless I'm just unable to handle my liquor anymore or whatever. Because I used to be able to drink anybody under the table, and I can't do that anymore.
No, I like, for me, that after 1992, I worked 3 jobs, and I cared about my jobs more than my social life at that point. And I was 28 then. And like after 28, the nonstop party stopped. That was over.
Okay, so at Dead GPK in the chat, he said, wondering nowadays if Earth is formless and it only manifests what we observe, kind of like a computer, well, like a hologram, like it appears like ahead of you, I think is what he's getting at. And I'm kind of thinking that too now. I don't know. I mean, I have 2 main theories. One of them is that we died, and then the other one is that it's the hologram, just because of the evidences I've seen in my own life.
When you say hologram, is that the same as simulation?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a theory about transcarnation, that we were transcarnated, that all the people we knew are still back on Sagittarius, and we were like the affected, those who are seeing the changes are in a different version or in a simulation, or that we were hijacked and like put into a fake version of our reality, kind of like a fish aquarium, like we're in a kind of,
Like we're in a zoo and they're watching us or something.
yeah,
Or some kind of weird experiment.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I don't want to, I definitely don't want to think that. So, but I'm I'm not like a best candidate to reveal great things about this. I'm just.
Well, who is? I mean,
I
no,
really like hearing your show though, because you have this. I resonate with your emotion, like you just have a kind of a poetic emotion, and I like your honesty. A lot of people try to act all positive all the time, and for me, I have nothing against that. But and I don't want to think negative thoughts. But I just feel, I guess I empathize with those that are kind of depressed.
The thing is that I've always felt too much emotion, you know?
Yeah.
Always. I mean, because I remember even as a kid, my dad would say, "Stop crying," and I'm like, but I mean, I cry over good things too, you know. I just have a lot of emotion in general, you know, but that, I think that's what separates some of us too, is that, you know, some of the people that in our lives or whatever, they just seems like a blank slate, you know, and I can't be with people like that, who are like that.
One of the weirdest changes was my sister, when I got out of the hospital, was suddenly like way overweight. I mean, I just saw her before I went into the hospital, and then when I got out, she was a different person. It's like suddenly she was always really super lean and always exercising and never overweight, and suddenly she was like 50 pounds overweight. And within the short amount of time that I went into the hospital and came out and saw her, she couldn't have possibly gained that much weight.
What did you go in the hospital for, if you don't mind my asking?
I had an inflamed. It's not the appendix, and it's on the tip of my mind. I'm trying to think of it. It's this weird organ of the stomach.
But do you think because of that change, do you think it's possible that you might have died?
Yeah, I think I might have passed away right then, or even before I went into the hospital, I might have. And
I've talked about this before, but you know, I started seeing changes when I was around 13. This was the early 80s, and it was because I took a whole bottle of aspirin, and I don't think that probably killed me, but maybe it did.
Oh yeah, could have. I attempted. Go ahead.
Oh, nothing. I was just going to say, and then there's a couple times where I think I fell asleep while driving. So I don't know if we like, you know, it's possible for us to die 3 times, even though really the Bible says you only die once. But what does it really mean when it says that too?
Yeah.
You know, because like if we did die, we're still here. You know, we're either in Sheol or Hades or whatever. You know, so I don't know.
And a whole bottle of aspirin would do it. Unless you threw up and like got most of it out. But
I woke up throwing up, but you know, then again, that could have just been me translating into this new whatever. Because the reason I say that that's such a strong possibility for me is that that's when I started seeing the changes.
Wow. What can you tell me? some of the changes you first saw?
Yeah, the very first one I saw was John Deere, and that went from without an E to an E on the end. And then everybody's names that people talk about, I saw in the 80s. I saw Sally Field, Christopher Reeves, Rod Sterling,
Wow.
Who else? Charles Schultz. All those names I saw all those in the 80s, but you know, it was like spread out enough to where I didn't really figure out what was going on. And I was just like, and I had a pretty photographic memory too. And I just thought I was going crazy. I was like, how could I be, you know, because I, like even her Oscar speech, I remember, I think that was in 1984. And of course I remember that she said, you like me, you really like me. But I also remember that that's when her name changed for me, because when she went up to give the speech, I'm like, Sally Field? I'm like, it was Sally Fields, I thought, you know? I mean, so that was like in 1984, so I can pinpoint that one. Hi, Ciso.
That's amazing. I'm not able to see the chat room, so I'm sorry if I missed anything. But I remember in 1985, I attempted suicide, and with paint thinner, which I, at the time, in my naivety, I thought it was fatal if swallowed. And I had just broke up with my first girlfriend, and it traumatized me so much. I just didn't want to live, and so I tried to end my life. But I noticed, just it could be coincidental, but just the feeling of culture, everything just seems so different after 1985 to me. It just felt like a whole different country. Like nothing felt like it was going in the same direction as before that. But I didn't think about it too. I just felt like, oh, it's because of commerciality and the media control and the manipulation of, you know, just the mass consciousness was affected by the narrowness of media control.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, because I know I don't watch the news at all. And so I'm wondering, like, and I'm not on my cell phone hardly at all. I don't like it. I don't like it when people can just, you know, I mean, I grew up in the era before all that. And so it irritates me to have people just like demand that you respond right away. You know, it's like even when I just had a landline, sometimes I'd let it go to a voicemail. If it was important, I'd call them back, you know. So I don't know if it's the fact that, like, you know, I don't watch a lot of TV. The only things I really watch are Star Trek and Twilight Zone. There is some great Twilight Zone episodes about all this stuff, you guys. I mean, someday I'm gonna.
Right, the episode, you know already, the parallel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Is that the one with the plane? The airplane, or is it?
No, it's the one where it's about a parallel of the guy that he goes into space and he shifts parallel Earth.
Right, I know what you mean. He comes home and everybody's different or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then it changes back or whatever. But I need to do a video on that, because there are so many. I've been watching a lot of Twilight Zone episodes, and there are so many episodes that have
you
to do
gotta
with
watch
this.
Parallel again. It's a great one. And I loved Outer Limits in the 90s. The new one always had things along what we're actually living. I mean, we're living in it now. We're in the Twilight Zone. And otherwise, if we're not, then something is deceiving us. And it could be both. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be more specific. Oh wait, I think my microphone went off. Testing. Did I go out? Can't. Still there? Oh, Mine went off, so I'm going to reset. Sorry, mine went out.
I'm sorry, you guys.
Hi.
Yeah, I think I just came back. I'm sorry, you guys. My internet goes out every now and then.
Mine too.
Okay, so let's see.
Who else could? Why don't you ask some others to join in?
Oh, are you sick of talking to me?
No, never. I just thought maybe some others had some great insight.
Well, I'll just have you on for today. I like to keep it to like one guest for each of the broadcasts. But if you want to get off, you can.
No.
But anyway, seeing Suso in the chat, it reminds me that he saw McDonald's. He said in the early '80s, and so did I. I saw that change as well. It went from MAC Donald's to Mick.
Wow. That
so
one
that's
I'm
I'm
not sure about. I kind of see both. I think that's possible. I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, that's definitely, that was a change. I've been trying to put together like the approximate dates. Oh, did Guy come in?
Oh wow.
Guy might have come in. Oh, wait, let's see here.
I have an do you hear an echo on yours?
No.
Okay, it's just mine.
No, you're fine on mine, but anyway, yeah, I'm trying to put together like a list when I write down my effects in my logbook about approximately when, and then some of them I have a triple memory on, like for instance, Cheez-Its. That's weird because I have no clue what it was originally for me, but like 3 different versions of it look right.
Yeah. Well, no, mine's weird on that too, because mine's BERN without the Baron, just Bernstein.
Well, I thought that too, but because everybody was saying Bernstein, but I thought it was just Bernstein as well. So that's like another triple one or whatever. Well, it's not a triple because it was never AI. I remember I saw, this was like early 2016. I saw a Bernstein bear book lying on the floor of my niece's, and I thought, my gosh, they put that typo in there,
Yeah.
And so.
Did you see, Neil deGrasse, the so-called astrophysicist, when he was on this show, it's on YouTube, where he was asked where we are in the galaxy, and he said, outer edge of the Sagittarius arm.
Well, and Carl Sagan always said that as well. And now all of a sudden these world-renowned PhD physicists were wrong.
Yeah. Well, it's weird too, because like the Neil deGrasse of now is so against any speculation of UFO. Like he doesn't believe in UFOs, or it just seems like a different guy. Like he's now kind of looks down at people that are studying, all these cases of UFOs and that, and he just, I don't know if he's doing it because he thinks it's part of his career.
He kind of popped up in the middle of nowhere for me.
Yeah, me too. He just suddenly he was on PBS doing a science show.
He just, I don't really remember him as much. Now I remember Carl Sagan,
Oh yeah,
for sure. I remember the science shows on PBS or whatever that he used to be on.
Yeah.
But Neil deGrasse Tyson, he kind of popped up, and then Elon Musk is another one that popped up out of nowhere for me too.
Yeah. I don't know why, but for me, I think that bizarre vehicle that he sent us, I think that's actually, it looks very digital and it doesn't look real, but I think they actually did that.
I don't think so, but I mean,
No.
who am I to guess? I don't
Yeah.
know. Let's see. I'm going to put in a link, you guys, to the Schumann resonance because it's kind of going wild again. So that way you guys can look at it. But it's white, and I have a thing where it's all the way down to 40. I don't know if you pay attention to that Preliminimal at all, but I do. I check it almost every day.
Well, I'm still, that's a little bit over my head. Is it to do with radiation?
No, what it is it measures, and I don't know why this would matter, but they call it the Earth's hum or the Earth's heartbeat. And what it is like a measurement of the lightning strikes around the world in the atmosphere.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's, why would that have anything to do with anything? But apparently it does. But yeah, it's like, it's going off the charts. Right? Well, last couple hours have been quiet, but before that it was going off the charts.
Can I ask, what is your spiritual theory about, like, I believe we were alive before being born into this world. Can you elaborate on what your spiritual idea is?
I never used to think that, but I'm starting to now. And one of the reasons that I do think that is because, I acted 50 when I was 5 years old. And now that I'm 50, I act 5.
Yeah. What? Yeah, no, when I was 7, I was asking my parents, how did we get here? What were we, and they were just like, they looked at me that, like, this was something they never thought about. And so because they were just so caught up in the world. And
my parents used to tell me that I would freak them out all the time when I was little,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I think, well, and even the Bible says, if you believe the Bible, which I do, but if but it
look at
says
it
that
as
God knew us before the creation of the world. So
yeah, I think, yeah, God knew us all before and breathed us into this form. And I kind of think we fell. I think each person is in their own kind of correction process. And I think Adam and Eve is symbolic. I kind of go along with what Emanuel Swedenborg taught. He was shown things outside of his body in the 1800s. He wrote many books about it. And what his interpretation of the Bible just rings true to me, and I'm still searching. I keep an open mind, and I pray, and I believe the basic meaning and the need for Jesus. But I think I have a hungry mind for understanding, what the Bible doesn't talk about. Because even in 7th grade, I just felt really uncomfortable with everything that wasn't explained. And so I would have all these questions, and I've still felt that way.
well, I remember one of the first things, this doesn't have anything to do with the Bible, and I don't know why it popped in my head, but when you said that you had something with the unexplained, and by the way, I do believe in the Bible wholeheartedly because I've seen so many miracles in my life. I think I told, well, I don't know if you heard it, but my wallet was returned to me in Cairo, Egypt.
I heard about that one. Yeah.
But anyway, what I was getting at is that I remember one of the very first things that confused me as a kid was when they explained how our eyes worked and how, like, they turned it upside down. And I'm like, well, does that mean we're walking upside down? That was one of the things I remember strongly sticking out to me as an unexplained thing that I just couldn't wrap my brain around.
Huh. That's interesting. Well, do you think that there's a veil that prevents us from remembering who we were in the spirit dimensions?
I don't know.
Because to me, it makes no sense that we could just suddenly begin as a human, like with no past. That makes no sense.
Just because I believe the Bible, I think that we've always existed, or, we were breathed into this form, like you said, and there is something, maybe we did something wrong. Maybe we have to just learn some lessons. I don't know.
I think it's just ongoing, because why would there be a sudden pause in eternity? If eternity goes both ways, and it's kind of beyond time, but why would there suddenly be a lapse of evil? I think, like, in what I've learned from Buddhist teachings and other it's always there to test people, and so even like in heavenly realms, you're still going to be tested, and maybe not in a oppressive way, but just that, like, not people in heaven aren't just floating around, that they always have jobs to help other, they're not always in a blissful state. They have to
I wonder what our
well,
job will be later on
I
after
think
whatever we pass from,
yeah, I think each person is so complex and unique that they're all given according to, what we're best at doing, and as long as we're not thinking in a totally obsessive, selfish way. I think that's why we came here. I think we're just a little bit too selfish in one way or another, and the word human, I think it means to be humbled. If that goes back to the roots of the word, I'm not sure. But I always thought HUM sounded so much like humbled. So I wondered if that's the main purpose of being a human, is to be humbled from whatever we were before this.
Well, I know that for me, for instance, in college, I took shrooms and I had a bad trip. And I thought I was crazy because I thought I thought I was in hell and that everybody was in on the joke but me. So I thought that's called Capgras syndrome, kind of, where when you think that the people around you aren't the real people that are supposed to be around you. But anyway, I had that in college, and that humbled me so much because I was kind of a bitch, really, before. And, that made me a different person. So I'm glad to have gone through that, but I don't know what happened or whatever, to make me go through that. But it was a very important time in my life. And that's also when I'd always grown up in church, and, I'd been, always believed in God and never disbelieved, but it brought me back closer to God as well at that time.
Yeah, I always believed. I just felt like,
shoot,
I wanted to understand, and so I started searching all kinds of other ideas. And I always liked science. I was very into science fiction, still am, but not the traditional, where it's about the good guys versus the bad. I mean, I liked more like what other worlds are like, and more heavy concept like Philip K. Dick and things like that. But
so
science fiction has been given such a bad rap from all the people that are just doing formula science fiction. Like the originality really got watered down, because really science fiction should be more like spiritual fiction. And I think that's a whole new thing that hasn't been explored enough.
Have you written any science fiction?
Only in short stories, but I don't call it science fiction. To me, it's more of a abstract surrealism.
Hmm. I think, is anybody else hearing him go in and out a little bit? It might be my internet too. I'm not sure. But you were kind of going in and out a little bit.
I'm sorry if I'm boring. I'm kind of just speaking right, and I haven't been sleeping like this whole past 2 years. I'm staying up too much, but I always stood up late. I was always a night owl, like since I was 17, except when I had to work in the morning.
I'm like a morning and an evening person, and I like to take huge naps in the middle of the day.
Yeah. Morning shift, like if you work somewhere in the morning, that goes by so much faster than if you work afternoon or evening. So I always recommend, work the morning shift and get all that out of the way.
So, you guys, I don't know if Corey's going to come on after me. I think so. Let's see. You can find Long Reach One. Yeah, I like her channel. She did the weird number things. Although I don't know that numbers change, but I did see it change when I saw her video. But I was seeing an 8 though, and other people were seeing it go from 2 and 3. I don't know if are familiar with her channel.
Long Reach One.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched those. I'm subscribed, and those are good.
Well, you guys, I'm going to cut things off about 4 minutes early, and then that way, if people need to use the restroom or get a drink or whatever, they can. But it was great having you on today, and I hope you come back some other time too.
Thanks, Rain. I'm trying to be more awake for this, but
oh no,
I hope I wasn't disappointing.
Even upstairs, so I hope I'm not disturbing them. So I'm going to get off here, but you guys, I love everybody, and thanks for being here. Bye bye.
Thanks.